Hi, and thank you for joining me today for my latest Using My Scraps process video. And today's layout definitely evolved. It started off with these two 3x4 photos of James at a maker's market in Congleton. It's one that I helped him with. Usually his dad helps, but his dad had already promised to take Amelia out for the day to Liverpool, so I stepped in and said that I'd do it with him, so I wanted to document that. It's also a different market. Most of the markets that he goes to are run by Makers Market, but this one was run by Traders Markets. It's all very technical. So I pulled out some scraps from my scrap bin, and I used that diamond piece that I've just put down as my focal point to pull in the colours. It's got some nice pinks and that beautiful turquoise and some navy blues, so I wanted to focus in on those along with black, because black always makes everything better. So you can see I'm just going through the papers that I pulled out and creating a mat for those photos, once again going vertical down the page and using rectangles. But I'm struggling a little bit. I couldn't quite work out how I wanted the papers to go, which papers I wanted to use, whether I wanted to use that tag. So it does take me a little while. And then I think I'm going to do a central composition. But as I start playing around with other pieces, it ends up to the left. And if you saw the thumbnail, you'll see it definitely evolves from the beginning. Now, I really wanted to use that Hello Today card because the colours went really nicely with the colours in this paper that I'm holding now. But in the end, I used the reverse of it. And those black and white pieces also get ditched. Well, they don't get ditched. I use them as photo mats rather than as big mats behind the photos. So just trimming that down so that it's a straight side, and then having another play. And it's when I pull that away, I think actually I prefer these colours. The photos sort of stand out a bit more when I just have them on the paler colours. So still trying with this diagonal stripe, but I will pull that away shortly. There we go. So I wanted to bring in a darker colour, so I'm going to bring in some of this navy, just a very thin sliver down the middle of the block of papers that I've got going on here. And I did look at the reverse for a while because it's got that lovely pink with the florals on it, but decided to shy away. So now I wanted to bring in some circular elements. So I've got these two new Viewmaster dies from Hey Little Magpie, and I've cut them, cut the grey and white paper with them. And you can see I'm just positioning there. And it's at this point I decide that I want the central composition. So I move everything over to the centre and then decide to map my photos, first of all onto white cardstock. And then, like I say, I use those black and white papers from my scraps to add further mats behind them. They aren't big enough to go right the way across the photo, so you'll see how I just layer those up to create a full mat. So just trimming these down to size. Didn't get that one quite right, so going back in again. So that first photo that I've just put down is us carting everything from the car park over to the market, and then the second photo is when we're more or less set up with James behind his stall. So just going to distress all the edges now of these papers. I just felt that it would look nicer with the distressed edge. If you've watched me for a while, you know that that's something I definitely prefer on my layout. So just using that Tim Holtz edge distresser to get those all rubbed down. And then I can carry on building. So it was a strange day. I've done markets with James before, not for a full day, but this one was really quiet. It's a little bit out of the town centre in Congleton, and it didn't have the footfall really that we normally see at a market. His stuff was still really well received. There was also another 3D printer who was really friendly and a lovely guy. We chatted for quite a while, but he's a regular at the market. They have the traders market is separate. It's just once a month from the regular market that's on a couple of nights a week and then on a Saturday. And he's always there as a regular. So he has a lot of regular customers who don't take kindly to other 3D printers coming into the market. They weren't rude to us or anything, but they gave him some comments. But he kept saying, no, they are really nice. But it's hard when you're going into somebody else's territory, I suppose, when you're selling something. It's been an interesting experience doing these markets with James and seeing how it all works. So nearly there now, distressing the edges of these papers, and then I can build it all up. So that's the start of the building block, and then those other pieces on top. and then just working out how to position the photos. I'm happy for them to overlap slightly because it's just the boot of the car that photo is overlapping, so that doesn't really matter. And then I'd seen a phrase in this paper that I've used in the past, and it says good things ahead. So I wanted to use that because he's really going from strength to strength in his markets. He's enjoying them very much. So I thought this would be a suitable phrase. So just trimming that down, and it will get added to the layout after being moved to every position available, I think. But just making sure that it's a rectangular block. And at first I think it's going to go there, and it more or less goes there. It moves over to the right slightly, but you'll see how I fiddle and faff with it. And now I'm using a circle punch just to punch out some of these circular elements from this pink fresh paper. One says super cool, and the other one says make the most of it all. Both of them have chunks cut out, so I have to be careful where I position them. That super cool one has a bit cut out to the left hand side, so I need to make sure that's against an edge. And then this other one you saw has I must have punched an element from near it, so we've lost a little bit of it, but it works really nicely against that photo. So this is where I move everything over to the left because I decide that I want that super cool to go off the edge of the paper. So it's definitely taking its shape now, this layout. It's becoming a very different beast. Like I say, I started this with absolutely no idea of what I was going to do. And it did take some time, but I really wanted to have some time to create today. So I was determined to keep going with it, and I'm thrilled with the outcome, but it did take a while, hence the rather long video. So just messing around, you've seen I moved those Viewmaster reels. I have a smaller one and a larger one, which is the die set, and decided to move the smaller one up to the top and keep the larger one at the bottom there. I think I've moved them around now. I'm so busy chatting. So this is the 3x4 photo card that I was trying to use before with the gingham stripes, but I decided in the end to use that as another mat behind that good things ahead. So now just matting these photos, as I mentioned before, in the black and white papers, starting with that lovely stripy one, and just justifying it to the right of the photo so that it shows on the right hand side. And then this one I'll justify to the left because the photo is overlapping the other photo, so I wanted to make sure that it showed on the edges that were exposed. So then bringing in this tartan piece and just filling in the gaps with that. And again, sticking that down. There we go. So that's where the photos are going to go. Now just moving everything aside so that I can get it stuck down. And of course, as soon as you start moving things, you forget where they were. So they don't go exactly where they were in the first place, but I've got the idea of it. So getting those layers all together, you can see I've already moved them from where they were. But I'm also, if you're a regular viewer, getting used to my ATG gun. So things are going much more smoothly now. And my layouts aren't quite so warped as they were when I used wet glue. As I said, when I did that, it didn't really matter to me because I have so many lumpy things on my layouts. They kind of straighten out in the album and you don't really notice, so it didn't matter too much. Just moving that whole block over, I felt that it was a little bit too centred, so I just wanted to increase the width of this block, checking that everything is straight, and then getting that last piece stuck down. And it's great because that blue piece in the background, the turquoise piece, has a grid on it, so it's quite easy to line everything up. So at this point, I'm not sure I've put my edge distressor, so just using my fingernails to distress this piece, and that's what's going to hold the good things ahead tag. So just getting those photos layered again, bringing back in the Viewmaster and this super cool piece. And I'm very aware at this point that there's going to be a huge gap on the right hand side because I've justified everything to the left. I felt that it needed something in the bottom right hand corner. I've got a diagonal working with those Viewmaster reels, So I'm just starting to think about what I'm going to do down there. So first of all, get all of this sorted, and then I can work on that corner. So again, just roughing up those edges with my fingernails, and then get that stuck down too. And realised that I hadn't done the photo mats, so just giving them some attention as well. So almost there, and I'm sticking everything down as one block once again because I think I want to do some mixed media, but I'm not quite sure at this point. I don't know what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to use stencils or packaging technique, or I really haven't decided, but I want to leave my options open, so hence not sticking anything down until this point. Without thinking, I rough up the edges of this circle and then I stick it straight down to the background. So I have one piece now that's on the background paper and everything else is loose. So it was just as I was sticking it down, I realised, I thought, oh, bother. So just sticking the photos down now and getting those Viewmaster reels down. And then I can decide where I'm going with it all. Just making sure that everything's a little bit roughed up. And making sure that the wording can be read on that circle as well. Just fiddling with that Viewmaster reel and then adding a dab of glue just to keep that in place. So I'm going to trim off this circle piece now and then bring that back in and then use my pencil to mark where it's going so I can have a think about what to do with the mixed media. And I do this pencil line and I'm still thinking I don't really know what I'm going to do. And you can see I put that tag on the right hand side because I was considering using that as an embellishment cluster there, but I change it out for something much better. So I'm going to go through my sticker book. These are all old stickers that I've got, and I have put some more in there. I've moved from my drawer my puffy stickers, so from Ellie Studio, and these ones from Pink Fresh. And I'm going to use one of those that says Today's Stories. So I want to create a grounding piece to stick it on. So I'm just going to cut a rectangle of this navy blue, which brings it over to the right hand corner. And I'm going to use that as a faux tag. So just using my crocodile to punch a hole in the top. And that creates a really nice tag there. Now these labels are free printables from Hey Little Magpie. If you go onto the website and go to the brand Hey Little Magpie and then sort from price lowest to highest, I think it is, you'll see that at the top, and you can grab yourself some lovely free labels that Leanne designed years ago. But they're brilliant and I still use them from time to time. So I'm just cutting out a black one and a pink one and trying to create a cluster here. I wanted another one of these circles. I like this one with the black star, but in fact the black star doesn't even show by the time I've finished. Still faffing and fiddling. I'm struggling because that Today's Stories, I really would have liked the circle to be on the right hand side of it rather than the left. It would have been better on the left hand side of the page because it's this way round. But in the end I fiddle and faff, and it does look really good how I've created the cluster, if I say so myself, once it's all done. But that pink label gets moved into the main block rather than staying down there. So this is where I realised that I want to create like a reverse L here. So I pull that pink out and just pop it under the photo there. And then I'm just going to stick these bits together. So you can see that circle from the Today's Story puffy sticker actually blocks out the black star, but it doesn't matter. It looks really good when it's done. And when the mixed media is added, it looks fab. So just getting that stuck down, and then I can start to work on the mixed media. Oh, first of all, I trim this in half, add a half underneath that photo, and then half to the left-hand side on top of that turquoise block. Of course, trying it everywhere else first before I settle for having it up there. There we go. And it's amazing what little labels can do to a layout, just something that's been printed off at home. And it adds all that dimension. So you can see here I've smushed some black soot onto my glass mat and watered it down slightly, and I'm just using a cardboard roll. I can't remember what it came from. It may have been my pricing gun, I'm not sure, but I always keep things like this just in case. And I watered down the black soot and tried stamping with it, but because it's porous cardboard, it didn't work terribly well with all that water. So in the end, you can see I'm just dipping it straight into the black soot ink and then stamping with that. When I'm finished with that larger circle, I then come in with my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive lid and use that to create circles. And once I've created these ones, I'm going to go in with a pen lid. So I've got 3 different circle sizes on the layout, and you can see I'm carrying them some off the page and some are overlapping one another. I just want to create some dimension and interest here. And when I've got these down, I feel like there's still something missing. So I bring in my gold watercolour, you'll see that in a second. And then I start with splatters, but end up colouring some of these circles in, and it's so effective on the background. So just trying to get everything in place. I haven't quite followed that diagonal line from top left to bottom right as much as I'd like to, and I will bring some more in due course. But this is where I start adding the splatters, and then realise that if I colour some of the circles in, it's going to bring much more colour into it. So I start with this one at the bottom, and they're just roughly coloured, but it really creates some great dimension. And I love that I've used the black soot as well, because the black starts to bead into the gold a little bit, because it's not like a stays on, it's not permanent. So it sort of adds a different depth to that gold as well. And just not colouring too many, but just a few, just to add something. And you can see what a difference that makes already. So just adding in a few more circles here just to complete that diagonal line, like I say. Colouring a few more bits in. Some more splatters for good measure. And this makes it so much easier when you haven't stuck your photos down, so there's no chance of getting the gold all over the photos. So now I can stick all of this block down now that that's sorted. So I'll just go carefully to make sure that it's straight. But having those pencil lines really helps. And that's that adhered down. So now I've gone into one of the little drawers on my desk, just with my bits and pieces from Hey Little Magpie in. I want to use one of these pink tabs just to bring some bright colour in, because the products that James sells, his 3D printed stuff, is really very bright. So I wanted to bring some of that brightness in. So on one side of the tab it says smile, on the other side it's got a smiley face. I end up using the smile side. And then this is just a little ribbon piece that I had in that drawer, some pink gingham ribbon, so just adding a ribbon loop here. And then to complete that little block, I find a little suede face in a second. First of all, I'm going to add the date to that label at the bottom of the page, and then here's that lovely suede smiley face. So just adding that down there. And then I think I do bring in a little pink tweed button as well, and just add that. It's like a huge tweed dot. So now back into these stickers. These are the pink fresh ones, and I find this one that says game on, because he's all ready to go, ready for his customers. And then I find this lovely semicircle that says hanging out, because we were hanging out together, so I thought that would work nicely on there. And then these old Vicky Bootin, I think these might be firmwood, but I found a couple of these arrows which I think work nicely. One pointing up and one pointing down, again with more of the pink sort of tones on them. There's the one pointing up. And now I'm going into our new die from Hey Little Magpie. This is called the Amelia Alphabet, and I'm spelling out Congleton Traders Market. So I just cut this out of black cardstock, just some scrap black cardstock that I had, and then I'm going to add my journaling underneath it. And I've just fitted that title around the curve of the Make the Most of It All circle there, and so then the journaling flows down from that. Very nearly done now. I wanted to bring in a little heart at the bottom just to finish off that diagonal lean from the journaling, and then some wax twine to finish off this tag, which I will tie in a bow, and then tuck the ends underneath that Today's Stories puffy sticker. And that's pretty much it. So thank you very much for joining me. I really hope you've enjoyed this. Do ask if you have any questions at all. I shall continue using my scraps and finding new ideas to share with you. Otherwise, I'll see you very soon. Thanks again. Bye.